So here we have a Model 3 with a frontal crash. You can take a look at the powertrain, suspension and the crash structure up front. So starting with the crash structure, we can see that there are two beams in the front which are designed for buckling. So in an impact, so on the other side, apologies for the noise, you can see that it is these beams that get deformed so as to provide crash protection. So that beam up there is designed to shear, those bolts up there are designed to shear off in case of a major frontal impact, which they haven't right now. And then up front here, this beam, as you can see, has already buckled. So this forms the front crumple zone, as it were. Coming back to the subframe, so you can see that this is the front subframe, the entirety of the frame in black, as you can see, and to which is mounted the lower part of the crash structure, and then the upper part is attached to the main frame. So the main frame you can see in this sort of gray color. So that forms the main frame of the car. And on the subframe, you have the motor mounted on this point here. This is the front motor. This is a dual motor all-wheel drive Model 3. Then the suspension lower control arms are also attached to this subframe. So of course you've got your anti-roll bar or sway bar as well attached to this subframe. So looking at the suspension, this is a double wishbone suspension. The lower control arm is actually two arms independently attached to the knuckle right here. So the knuckle goes up right up there and is connected to the upper control arm or the upper wishbone, and then the strut comes back down and attaches to the lower control arm here. So the strut interestingly attaches only to one part of the lower control arm, and the drive shaft comes back in here into the motor. You can see the other side of the drive shaft has been pulled out clean from the CV joint, and it's leaking fluid all over, and it's been detached from that end as well. So again, another look at the suspension, the lower control arm. You can see here that it's broken and the spring is forcing it downwards to its maximum travel, full grip bound. So another clearer look at the knuckle over there attached to the upper wishbone. So this is the motor right here, the front motor, and the orange cabling is the high voltage connections which flow into the battery, and this is your battery. The battery itself, as you can see, is just about this thick. Maybe this is clearer. So it's just about this thick, and above it starts the passenger compartment. On the motor here you have the oil filter. There's just a differential and the gearbox that needs this single speed 10:1 ratio gearbox. It probably needs some oil changes, although there is no specified maintenance interval for that oil filter. So I guess, yeah, that's about it. Front motor, suspension, and the steering arm. So this is the steering arm on the right side, goes into the steering rack, which is right here. Then the hydraulic, the electric power steering system, and then comes out the other side right here. Yep. That's about it for the powertrain, suspension, steering and crash structure of the Model 3.